Welcome into the PHNXDbacks podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montia, formerly known as the mayor of PHNX. This guy's still your vice mayor. He still has to do whatever Shane says now. He's also your thunderstick. It's Jesse Friedman. Jesse, we might be talking about the Arizona Diamondbacks being in sole possession of first place in the National League West by the end of this very show. As it stands, the Los Angeles Dodgers that had a significant lead over the Cincinnati Reds have now completely blown that lead, and the Reds win. They walk it off in the ninth. Dodgers lose. Diamondbacks are number one in your hearts, and they're number one in the goddamn National League West. Jesse, get excited. He's not allowed to get excited, but you guys get excited. Let's go.
Yeah, what a game.
Wow.
The Reds and the Dodgers, of course, this is Elly De La Cruz's long-awaited Major League debut.
Man, and boy, did he perform in this game. He absolutely was. He had two walks and a double.
He was on 3 times, 1 for 3 with a double and a couple of walks. That double was a blistering 112 miles an hour off the bat. But it was a pretty crazy game. The Los Angeles Dodgers led 8-3 going into the bottom of the 5th inning, and the Reds scored 6 unanswered runs the rest of the way, including 3 in the bottom of the 9th to win that game. So the Diamondbacks, as of this moment, Derek, the Diamondbacks do not have the best record in the National League. That still belongs to the Atlanta Braves. However, the Atlanta Braves are currently trailing to the New York Mets 4-1. And if the Braves were to lose that game, the Diamondbacks would have sole possession of the best record in the National League. We haven't even talked about the Diamondbacks beating the Washington Nationals today.
Is this a dream? Is this reality? Jesse, it is June 6th. It is far past that point of this being a fluke. Am I right? Because like you said, the Diamondbacks in a similar position as the Reds. They found themselves down by a tremendous amount after the first inning, in fact, because the Diamondbacks got stoned early. And, of course, I'm somebody that knows a little bit about getting stoned too early. But, yes, former D-back Stone Garrett hit a monster grand slam off of Tommy Henry that had a 98 mile per hour exit velocity. So it had to basically just kind of a perfect exit trajectory. But he still got that one out of the park, and the Diamondbacks found themselves down 4-0 before they even picked up a single hit. So
they did score in the top of the first.
Oh,
the
that's true. I apologize.
Lead.
Yeah, you're right. You're 4-1.
They led 1-0, but yeah, the Nationals came storming back.
But the Answerbacks answer back, and honestly, I don't know. Tommy Henry didn't look great today, but you got to admit he did at least recover from that grand slam and didn't fall apart and allowed them to get back in this game.
Yeah, I mean, 4 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Tommy Henry was not good in this game, especially against a Washington Nationals offense that is not among one of the better offenses in baseball.
But as Brett Johnson says, Stone and Tommy were roomies in Reno, so that's got to be tough on Tommy.
There you go.
Give up that dinger, but
yeah. I mean, I think it was tough on a lot of D-backs fans in general, right? Like, of course, it had to be Stone Garrett who would hit the grand slam, and that came after Sunday's game, which I haven't gotten to talk about because I was out of town. The Diamondbacks gave up a very unfortunate grand slam in the 9th inning of Sunday's game and ultimately lost the series to the Atlanta Braves as a result. So
they lost the series to Eddie Rosario, basically.
Yeah, Eddie Rosario single-handedly won the series for the Atlanta Braves. But yeah, technically the Diamondbacks in back-to-back innings gave up grand slams, which is not exactly the way you want to do things. But ultimately the D-backs come away with the 10-5 win, and Tommy Henry was not good, but the bullpen was, and the offense was also very good for the Diamondbacks in this game.
You come back and you instantly found a way to be extremely negative by packaging those 2 grand slams together in a way I hadn't even thought about. But you're right. Yeah. Back-to-back grand slams in games. Good stuff in innings. But you're right, though. The Diamondbacks offense was extremely good in this one. I think the one thing we had a hard time was determining who the King Snake was because nobody stood out, but they did get contributions from everyone.
Right.
The one person, of course, that none of you wanted him to get contributions from was Pavin Smith, and you know it because that just extends his stay further. But Pavin Smith continues to get big homers, big hits, even though his stat line really says otherwise. But he was 2 for 6 with 3 RBIs in this one. With runs scored, he got that big home run. Ketel Marte, not the best day, but he got on base and he scored a couple of times. Corbin Carroll did some magical things with his legs out there. So did Jake McCarthy. Jesse commented about how Jake McCarthy just gets on base and immediately it's just almost automatic that he gets to second base. Every single time it feels like, whether it's a walk, whether it's a single, whether he grounded out and somehow beats it out to the first base, he finds a way to get on to second, in some cases even third. And we saw the Diamondbacks doing that thing that we needed to see of them again, which is creating chaos on the base path. They had the Nationals absolutely flustered out there with running on the base path, and then the Nats couldn't do anything to keep up with them.
Yeah, and the D-backs also had multiple instances in this game. We're on a fly out that was, I think in both cases, relatively deep, but not all that deep. The D-backs were able to tag up from first and second to second and third, which is really, really impressive. This team continues to be outstanding on the base paths, not only from a base stealing perspective, but just from a taking the extra base sort of perspective. The Diamondbacks are outstanding at that. But yeah, Jake McCarthy is insane on the base paths since he came back. I believe he's been on base 11 times since coming back from AAA, and he has stolen 8 bases. So basically about 2 out of every 3 times that Jake McCarthy gets on base, he's stealing a base. He's stealing second immediately after getting on first, which is extremely impressive.
He has 12 stolen bases, and he was a big part of what was missing of the Diamondbacks being able to create chaos. They had 4 stolen bases tonight. More importantly, they were 5 for 15 with runners in scoring position. And even though that's not like fantastic, it's still much better than what we've seen out of them as of late. And that's the reason why they were able to score 10 runs. They were getting guys in the scoring position, and they were able to bring them in. We can't say enough about what Emmanuel Rivera continues to do for this team at the plate, because his bat has just been absolutely red hot. He raised his average to 348 in this game. He went 2 for 3 with an RBI himself and a run scored. And I don't know, Emmanuel Rivera just seems to be that guy. Emmanuel Rivera needs to be hitting higher in the lineup, in my opinion. He needs to be hitting first or second because he's just on base. I know he's not fast, but I don't know if we really care about that when the guy's hitting 350.
I mean, Pavin Smith is the Diamondbacks leadoff hitter a lot of the time.
See?
So I
that
don't
backs
know
up that backs up.
I don't know if
idea.
Speed is necessarily the primary factor there, but yeah, I mean, what Emmanuel Rivera has done for the Diamondbacks offensively this year is really incredible. I mean, he's hitting 348. 383 on base percentage, 461 slugging percentage, and he's just been really consistent. It feels like ever since the Diamondbacks called up Emmanuel Rivera, he's been hitting 340 ever since the Diamondbacks made that move. And if you look at some of the StatCast numbers, it's not really a fluke. His expected batting average coming into this game was well over 300 on the season. So according to, from that standpoint, he's been one of the Diamondbacks' better hitters. And just looking at some of the normal metrics, he's been one of the D-backs' better hitters as well. He's hitting a ton of line drives. His line drive rate is absolutely through the roof. That's been one of the main reasons that he's been able to do this. I don't know if Emmanuel Rivera is going to be a 340 hitter for the rest of his career, but at this point, it sort of does feel like it, and it also sort of feels like the Diamondbacks need to get Rivera in the lineup pretty much every day at this point. And that's made a little bit more complicated by the fact that this team has 3 third basemen on the roster right now in Rivera, Josh Rojas, and Evan Longoria. So there's still a looming roster decision, theoretically, with Kyle Lewis potentially making his way back to the big leagues pretty soon. And you wonder if at this point the Diamondbacks can't really send down Emmanuel Rivera as much as that might have made sense a few weeks ago.
Here's the thing is the offense today, I mean, you had the Pavin Smith home run, but the Diamondbacks really did this it felt like with their legs, with the, running on the base path.
Yeah.
Their only home run was that Pavin Smith dinger. So, but they're able to score 10 runs, and that's what we've seen this offense be able to do at times. Today, they were definitely running the way that the Diamondbacks offense can run, and it's, going back to Jake McCarthy, it's why Jake McCarthy is so important. We saw him make a spectacular play in the outfield as well.
Yeah, he had a good day in center field.
Brad Waterman wants to know can Rojas still be optioned? I believe he can.
He can,
yeah. Let's not do that yet because Josh Rojas is our king snake. We're not optioning the king snake. King snake tonight. Josh Rojas, 2 for 3, 3 RBI, 1 run scored. I know it's been slow for Josh, and again, the power still isn't there. We talked about it when he was at the dish with, I think, the bases loaded, how great it would have been to see a dinger in that spot. But it's first of the year. I still don't know what's wrong with Josh Rojas in regards, to his power, but it seems as of late, at least his hitting is coming back, and he has been much better over the last few games. And tonight, again, big piece of tonight's victory is those 3 RBI he drove in.
Yeah, I mean, he is at this point 5 for 11, if I'm counting correctly, over his last 3 games. All 5 of those hits are singles, so like you said, you'd like to see some power from Josh Rojas absolutely. At some point. He still has yet to hit that first home run of the season. But, I mean, Josh Rojas is ultimately here to get on base and cause havoc on the base paths.
He's the disruptor.
He is the disruptor, and the D-backs haven't really gotten to take advantage much of his base stealing ability to this point in the season because he just hasn't been on base very much.
Yeah.
So yeah, as far as, could Rojas be optioned? Yeah, he could. He does have options remaining. The Diamondbacks could make that decision. They certainly have not been shy about making bold moves like that so far this season. And on paper, if you were to have to make a decision today on who to send down, Rojas might make the most sense. But yes, he did just have 2 hits in this game and has 5 hits in his last 3 games. So, maybe Josh is starting to turn things around here.
In the battle of these 2 bullpens, the Nationals they're just very, very bad. They're so bad that they don't have a lefty in their bullpen. How do you even exist as a franchise? I don't know. I know the Diamondbacks at times aren't much better when it comes to their them varying things and switching things up as far as like their starting rotation and
12-year-old teams have lefties in the bullpen.
I'm pretty sure 12-year-old teams have lefties in the bullpen. Yeah, but the Diamondbacks bullpen, we've bashed them quite a bit, but they deserve, I think, a little bit of credit. They were very good tonight, and most importantly, Scott McGough is an international sex symbol, right?
Oh my gosh,
baby, turn the lights off when Scott McGough pitches, okay? Let's slide into bed and let's watch this because Scott McGough has just been straight up sexy lately. Over the last 30 days, Scott McGough has given up 1 earned run in the last 30 days. Now, this man he's gotten a lot of flack, especially from these guys over here, or at least one of these 2 guys over here, and maybe one of those guys over there behind the computer. But I think he's very much turned things around and deserves credit because he's been absolutely excellent. In fact, you could argue he's been the best reliever in the pen. Jose Ruiz also has been just outstanding. He had 1 really bad outing that sticks out, as far as in memory.
He had a couple pretty bad outings.
Couple of pretty bad outings. But Jose Ruiz has been very good as well. He got the win tonight, by the way.
Yeah, Scott McGough, man, he's good.
He's good. Hashtag good.
It did not appear after those first few games that Scott McGough pitched in the big leagues. It was like, all right, well, you're kind of taking a chance here on a guy coming over from Japan, hoping the success translates, and you're going to swing and miss on those every now and again. And it sort of looked like Scott McGough, was an adequate middle reliever, could give you some innings in lower leverage situations maybe. But he didn't look like the guy that the D-backs hoped he would be. And it's been made pretty evident at this point that when the Diamondbacks signed Scott McGough, they signed him maybe not necessarily to be the closer, although I think they did sort of have that in mind, at least to be a high leverage arm. And, we saw what happened in San Diego in one of the first games of the season where he gives up back-to-back home runs to start the bottom of the 9th inning, and the Diamondbacks turned a 4-3 win into a 5-4 loss. There have been a couple ugly moments on the season for Scott McGough, but as of late, he has been the most consistent reliever that this team has. And I kind of wonder, Derek, if we're not too far away from having a conversation about Scott McGough joining, that closer group that the Diamondbacks have, that closer committee that the Diamondbacks have going right now, because he has been probably their best reliever here for the last month.
In 12 games, he has given up 6 hits, and that is in 16 1/3 innings pitched. So that, again, very good. Connor says Scott went from McRough to McTough as nails. Put it on a shirt, more Connor. Put it on
He has an opponent batting average of 153. There's some luck baked into that. Like, you're not going to maintain a 174 BABIP for an entire season. But that is really impressive. Scott McGough has figured out the feel on his splitter, which is something he really struggled with early in the season. He was relying a lot more on a slider that is not nearly as good of a pitch as his splitter is. And you saw him throw some nasty splitters in this game. And his fastball is a pretty decent shape too. So yeah, I mean, I think he continues to be a force in this bullpen and is only going to continue to get more and more high leverage innings as he continues to have this kind of success.
Tommy Henry, Ryan Nelson, both have not been very successful in their last starts, right? I know that this is an ever-developing situation, and it's never going to be, it's never going to be where either of these guys have completely won the job or they're going to.
It's not really a developing situation, Derek. It's just kind of the stagnant situation.
I mean,
right?
It's a developing situation when they're going from such extremes to having their best outing.
That's
of
true.
the year.
Yeah. Tommy Henry has had some
Henry.
really nice games recently.
Yeah, and then he goes out and goes 4 1/3 and give up 5 earned runs. Now, obviously, a lot of that was the bad first inning, and you can't just say you subtract that out. But outside of that, he only gave up 1 earned run, right? So really, he really did just have a bad inning, but it was a kind of a disastrous start to this game. It just also put a lot of stress on the bullpen. The Diamondbacks end up having to use 4 relievers in total. Those guys came out and did their job extremely well, including Jose Ruiz, who basically pitched 2 innings. He went 1 2/3 and didn't give up a hit, didn't give up a run, and just looked very good. So this bullpen, I think this bullpen still has some very, very good arms in it. But I feel like the bigger story here is that we have to kind of keep an eye on Tommy Henry and Ryan Nelson now almost every outing to see if they are potentially on a short leash when it comes to the starting rotation.
Yeah.
Not knowing whether that could be Dre Jameson potentially getting their spot or Brandon Pfaadt being called back up to take one of their spots. But it does feel like, again, both of them kind of went from having some fairly good outings consistently over their last few to back-to-back bad outings for both of them.
Yeah, a couple numbers stick out for Tommy Henry for me today. One of them is the number 5, which is the number of whiffs that Tommy Henry had in this game. Not an impressive number at all. If you get 5 whiffs in a game, it's it's going to be tough to have a good outing with that little swing and miss. 3 of those were on fastballs. He threw some nice 4-seamers up in the zone that got swing and misses, but his changeup wasn't really there for him in this game. That's really been the key for Tommy Henry these last few starts that have been pretty good. His changeup has been the main pitch in that. His curveball has also been pretty good. Of late, he only had 1 whiff on that pitch in this game as well. The other number that sticks out to me is 21%, which was the chase rate for the Washington Nationals in this game. They only swung at 21% of pitches outside of the strike zone, which is not great. And a lot of that is because, especially early in this game, Tommy Henry was throwing a lot of very uncompetitive pitches, just missing way to the arm side by multiple feet in some cases. No major league hitter is going to chase those pitches. Yeah. And Brent Strom, in his last meeting with the media last week, talked specifically about Tommy Henry and how the key to him reaching the next level is cutting down on those big misses to the glove side. And in this game, he was not at all good at minimizing those mistakes.
Jacob Franklin in the chat, a.k.a. Faj, my co-host from yesterday, asks, are the D-backs officially the Phoenix team with the brightest future?
Huh.
I can't see how you could argue otherwise. The reason why I will say
the
that...
Suns?
Well,
I don't know, Derek.
Here's what I will say about the Suns. Would you not agree that based on what they did with the trade for Durant and their current roster... I'm not saying that the Suns aren't going to add to it. I'm not saying they can't make other trades. I'm not saying they can't bring in some fresh new players. But the way they are constructed now, it feels like their window is closing more than staying open for a long period of time, right? Whereas the Arizona Diamondbacks, it feels like they're unexpectedly good early, and it also feels like their window to be competitive is open for quite some time because they finally established their core, right? And now with their core being established, now they can go out there and they can add pieces, I feel like, to this team that's going to make it better. There are people in the chat talking about Thunderbolt said no, not after last Saturday and Sunday. Man, it's a series loss. Like, it's going to happen
against a really good team,
against
too.
a very good team. And to be honest, I'm not trying to take away the fact that Miguel Castro blew that game, but looked at what the bullpen did tonight. Like, I feel like
bullpen's been pretty darn good.
That was definitely
lately.
a poor performance on his part, but the Diamondbacks were in a position to win that game, and that would have given them the series. One game completely turns around their season or your outlook on them? I don't think so. I do think that Miguel Castro isn't necessarily the right man for the job when it comes to that ninth inning role. But I think, unfortunately, the Diamondbacks are still going with this closer by committee thing, and I don't think that they're going to maybe stray away from that. I think they're still going to go with whatever reliever they feel like gives them the best opportunity to win in the ninth, and I don't know if that's going to set them up for long-term success. Maybe they pursue that arm, like Jesse said earlier. Maybe McGough ends up being that arm. He has been consistently good, and if you remain this consistently good, you've got to be looked at for a closing role, or at least a high leverage role for this team, which I'm sure he will.
To the earlier question about are the Suns the team with the brightest, or are the D-backs the team with the brightest future in the Valley? I'm a little hesitant to go there at this point, just because the Suns have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And I mean, I guess it depends on how you view the question. Are you looking like 10 years out? Then, I mean, I don't know if you could even say that about the D-backs team. That's a long ways away.
You have Corbin Carroll and Scott McGough.
I'm not saying 10 years out.
No, but I just think...
Is he wrong? Do we not have Corbin Carroll and Scott McGough?
I mean, you don't have Scott McGough 10 years from now. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with where the Suns are at, I mean, I think they're instant championship contenders just because they have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Whereas the D-backs, we're not quite there yet, right? The D-backs are playing really well. They've had a really good start to the season over the first, around the 60 game mark at this point. But you're not like, oh, the D-backs are, championship content. I mean, maybe they will be when all is said and done, but I don't think we've really seen enough of this team yet in order to get to that point. But if you're just kind of counting like future assets, then yeah, I mean, the D-backs have Drew Jones on the way. They have Jordan Lawler on the way. There are more long-term assets to be excited about here.
And that's the thing, is trading away pieces like Cam and McHale makes it feel like this team is more about now rather than the future. And I think the Diamondbacks, the benefit they have is they are obviously more about the future than the now. But guess what? Right now, on June 6th, 2023, the goddamn Diamondbacks are the number one team in the National League West. And yeah, maybe the second best team in the National League with the Braves winning. But I don't care about that. I'm not worried about them. They're not in our division.
The Braves are still trailing, but it's 4-3 now.
Oh, they're trailing?
Yeah, they're trailing by 1 run.
Oh, come on.
Instead of 3 runs. We'll see how
let's get this done. But I did pick the Arizona Diamondbacks today on the PHNX bet show to win by the run line of a run and a half, and I will take that bet, and I will take that money. And we've teamed up with BetMGM this season, and we use their lines to make all of our picks. Of course, we have special offers for our listeners each week. Every Saturday and Wednesday, you can claim your bonus bet on the house at BetMGM. Fans will automatically receive a bonus bet upon logging into your account. The bets expire for 72 hours, so don't wait. But bonus bets can only be used on any sport wagers, but they are there for you, free money for you to use and make some more money with. You can also check us out at the Knockout Nights Cornhole League. We will be out at the BetMGM Sportsbook out at State Farm Stadium. We will be getting our butts kicked regularly on the first Friday of every month in Cornhole, and we will be having a great time. So join us. There's food and beverage specials, giveaways, BetMGM prizes, free bonus bets on the house from BetMGM. Anyone? Show up and get that. Shows will be broadcast live on site beforehand. We will be out there doing this show from the BetMGM Sportsbook, so join us. And if you haven't signed up for the BetMGM app yet, use bonus code PHNX. There's a different offer depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, you get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details, and now listen to Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Well, we thank you guys for being here in the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do so. Leave us a little thumbs up just for our own personal self-esteem, and make sure you sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. If you're listening to us now on your favorite audio podcasting app, please subscribe to us there. Leave us a review. We always appreciate the feedback. But most importantly, if you haven't become part of the PHNX family yet, make sure to do so right away over at gophnx.com. Get yourself a diehard membership. Now, I just found out today that the Die Hard membership also provides you with a ranch card for Dobson Ranch Golf Course, which is something I didn't even know was a benefit. That right there, folks, that right there, I'm going to tell you, that pays for your membership just straight out of the gate. But you also get a free piece of merchandise from the PHNXlocker.com for every year you're a member, 20% off all future purchases, and you get a free $50 gift certificate from our friends at Mountain Mike. So right there, boom, boom, boom.
We're kind of just like handing you
We're
free
just
money,
money
at a certain
and free
point,
stuff,
basically.
Yeah, right. He's not wrong. But you also get access to our Discord lounge, which is the best place to be an Arizona Diamondbacks fan. You get discounts with our partners. You get special discounts on our events, as well as exclusive invites to events, exclusive Die Hard merchandise only, and so much more. So sign up right now. Go PHNX.com. We love you to do so. And of course, Jesse does not put most of his content behind a paywall, but the few pieces that are, you will get that as well with your Die Hard membership. So make sure to do so. That way you're not missing out on this guy and everything, all the wonderful stuff he has to offer as well. But going back, we talked about that series with the Braves, and I guess one thing I wanted to ask you, since you weren't here to discuss it, was, did you feel like this series exposed some of the weaknesses that we've kind of been talking about a little bit, right? Like, they did not score a run, Jesse, against the bullpen, against the Braves. Not a single run, a 0.00 ERA.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the Diamondbacks struggling to score late in games, and we also talked about, obviously, the bullpen and the Diamondbacks still not really having a lockdown guy there in the ninth. We saw them do a much better job, obviously, in this game, but we didn't want to put too much pressure on that Braves series, but taking a look at it and how important it was, did it really show some of the weaknesses that the Diamondbacks still need to kind of address?
It was, yeah. I mean, it's funny you say like the D-backs really struggled to hit relievers in that series, because that's something we've talked about a lot.
Yeah.
And wow, yeah, this is. I don't think we've ever seen this in all of our days doing by the numbers graphics.
ERA?
I don't think I've ever seen a perfect 0 ERA for a bullpen.
You can ask Damon. I checked this 6 times because I thought I was just being dumb and missing it. I was like, is this right? I think I even had him check too. It was incredible.
Did. Yeah. I mean, I was in Washington on vacation, but I did, look at all the box scores and watch highlights and whatnot. And yeah, pretty much every time I looked at the box score for one of those Braves games, it was like, yeah, it feels like a pretty typical D-backs game. Like in a lot of those games, they were doing their damage early, and then, as we've been discussing, just not really able to do anything late. So I still don't know, like, how do you distinguish that being an actual weakness of the team versus just like a weird anomaly? Yeah, because I don't. When we asked Tori about that recently, he didn't seem to have any like clear answers or anything. It didn't seem like something that it was something they talked about, trying to keep the pressure on the opposing pitching staff and getting better at tacking on runs. But you can't just start getting better at that just by talking about it. Like, I don't know if there's really a problem here that's being fixed, or if it is just sort of a weird anomaly at this point in the season. But I think, if we're talking about maybe weaknesses exposed, I think the lack of maybe a true closer continues to be a potential issue for this team. Miguel Castro has had a few of these pretty rough moments late in games. He's given up a few pretty big home runs. Of course, this one was accentuated because it was a grand slam and it put the Braves up 3 runs. So yeah, I mean, I think it's abundantly clear that when the trade deadline rolls around, a closer would be something the Diamondbacks would benefit a lot from. I mean, could you imagine if this team had, maybe it's an Aroldis Chapman, from the Kansas City Royals, a player who is widely expected to be traded. If you plug in an Aroldis Chapman into the back end of this bullpen, and then suddenly Castro and Chafin and McGuff become your 7th and 8th inning guys, that really starts to change the dynamic of this bullpen. I think that's, a clear weakness that this series with Atlanta might have exposed.
And I mean, again, it's funny because if Miguel Castro was their closer and he just blew this game, that would just be your closer blowing the game, right? But I feel like it's easier to pin it on Tori's, basically his closer by committee situation because of the way that went. I do think though that should be definitely a focus of theirs. I just don't know, because sometimes how Tori is. When he commits to doing something, he kind of lets it play out, and I don't know. I feel like this season we have seen this franchise, not just Tori, but the entire organization, do a better job about not fully committing to something that doesn't work, even if it's going to cost them big, like what we saw them in parting ways with Madison Bumgarner. Look at the direction this team has gone since parting ways with Mad Bum. And I mean, of course, like it's a huge sacrifice they ended up having to make, but it's something you have to do to make this team better. And then that's kind of where we're at right now.
A couple of people have mentioned Liam Hendriks in the chat. I think he is a potential trade target. There are a couple of issues there. Number one, he's only had a few outings, 3 innings, 2 runs. I don't think you're super concerned about that. He obviously has a pretty impressive track record, and the stuff appears to have maybe dropped off a little bit, but maybe it's still good enough for a back-end role. I do believe that there's a clause in Liam Hendriks' contract where if he gets traded, then I want to say it guarantees his contract for next year at $15 million or something along those lines. I might have the exact details on that wrong, but there's something that's triggered if Liam Hendriks is traded that probably puts you in a spot where you don't really want him anymore. So I don't really see Liam Hendriks being, at the top of the D-backs trade wish list. Scott Barlow and Aroldis Chapman, a package deal from the Royals. You feel like you'd have to pay a king's ransom for that, given how much demand there's going to be at the deadline for bullpen arms and getting 2 of them in one trade. But I mean, that would do wonders for this Diamondbacks team if they were able to get 2 guys in one deal like that. So we'll see. We're still a ways away from that, obviously.
We've won the trade with KC before, and we'll win it again. Damn it. I did discuss Torey putting out his best lineup against the Braves for all 3 games in an effort to try to. I mean, I know again, this is a regular season thing. I know Torey's not going to vastly change his ways in the middle of the regular season, but I still felt like there was a lot left on the table as far as the lineup goes and as far as Torey being able to put guys out. We did learn that Lourdes is suffering from a strained groin,
right?
So he hasn't been 100%. But it really didn't feel like during that series. It just felt like Torey did what he does. Like he's just going to have a game plan in place, and it's going to progress regardless of the opponent. And I mean, that's one area that I think a lot of people criticize him on is his starting lineup, management, and his ability to kind of do this during what we view as important series, but he might just view as another 3-game series in the middle of a 162-game season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe for a second that Torey Lovullo is, not trying to win games or not trying to do everything that he reasonably can to win games. Obviously, guys need days off. That's something a lot of fans don't just refuse to realize that guys do need days off. They had a
day off on Monday, Jesse, and then they played the Nationals, and then they played the Tigers. There is plenty of time for days
that's
off.
True. That
was my big thing with that series.
There is definitely a case to be made that at times maybe Torey overdoes it a little bit on that front. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest gripe that people have is probably Pavin Smith in the leadoff spot, right? Yeah. We've seen multiple comments already in the chat where people are literally annoyed, Derek, that Pavin Smith has good games because then, it just kind of gives the Diamondbacks more reason to continue putting him at the top of the lineup when a lot of people don't really feel like he belongs there at this point.
Gabriel says, what if we get Shelby Miller from the Dodgers? They're barely a wild card team, as if I won't fight him the next time I see him.
That's a fascinating comment.
I don't.
Could you imagine the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks make a trade that sends Shelby Miller, who's been pretty good for them this year? I think he's walked. Like his walk rate is kind of high, but
this is awful.
I don't foresee that happening
in every way. But I did again. We didn't. They lost the Braves series. Whatever. You're not going to get that one back. But at the same time, the Braves are a tough team, and the Diamondbacks, I guess. If you want to look at things positively, they easily could have won 2 out of 3. They didn't, and they walk away learning a bit and still kind of trying to find some answers to things that's not going to be the only series that their bullpen costs them if they can't figure things out with who they can rely on there in the 9th inning. But I did want to get your thoughts also on Torey Lovullo's extension. Lovullo signed that 1-year contract extension through the end of 2024. Kind of came up. In the middle of all of this success the team is having, so it kind of makes sense. I felt like part of it does kind of take that off of Torey's mind for the year, right? Because his contract was going to be up at the end of the season, And as much as Torrey as a person can sit there and say that it in no way, shape, or form impacts him and he doesn't then think about it at all, it's still a looming thing, right?
Sure.
So I feel like there's times where Torrey might lay in bed or just have a moment of relaxation where a thought about that kind of might just all of a sudden creep into the back of his mind. And it's good for him to not have that with the team having the success it is, so he can stay focused on this goal of trying to make this underdog team into a potential contender.
Yeah. I mean, Torrey's gotten pretty used to being a lame duck manager, right? He'll be entering, as things stand right now, he'll be entering a 4th straight season on a 1-year contract. So at this point, if you gave Torrey an extension, it would just be, I mean, he would just be in complete foreign territory. He has no idea what that kind of job security feels like. I mean, I don't know what he would do with himself. But yeah, it sounds like at least one of the reasons that Mike Hazen gave for this, it was that he basically implied that his own contract, the contract of Mike Hazen, the Diamondbacks GM, also goes to the end of next year. And it's pretty rare for a team to have its manager extended farther out than its general manager.
Right.
So I don't think this necessarily closes the door on the Diamondbacks giving Torrey Lovullo a long-term extension, potentially even before the end of this year. I just think that they would have to get to a place where they're committed to Mike Hazen first. And then if Mike Hazen got that extension, then the Diamondbacks could follow it up and give Torrey Lovullo that extension as well.
And we still don't know how long Mike Hazen's contract is for, but
it sounds like it is, based on that comment, it very much sounds like Mike Hazen is through 2024.
The comment was very much about basically it aligning with the rest of them, and like it very much sounded like Mike Hazen was including himself in that group. And it makes sense. This group has been around for a while. Manager Torrey Lovullo has been a manager of this team for a while. Mike Hazen has been the GM. You could argue that this team hasn't lived up to its potential. You could also argue that my metaphor was Mike Hazen was given a broken vase after a party and was told to put it together quick before the parents got home. And he did his best damn job. He found every piece. He fucking super glued the shit out of that. He put that puzzle back together. He got rid of those bad contracts. He got rid of, he completely rebuilt the farm system. That was absolutely in disarray when he got here. So there's a lot of things that Mike Hazen has done as GM here that he doesn't really get credit for. And that is how the Diamondbacks are to the point that they are today. Don't get it twisted. It's not luck. It is absolutely Mike Hazen as GM doing everything he could to repair this franchise after Dave Stewart and that entire regime with Tony La Russa absolutely just burnt the landscape with their decision-making and their personnel decisions. It was an awful thing that he was left, and he's done a fantastic job at getting this Diamondbacks team back to being competitive. And while also, like, we just had that question about, is this the brightest future? Like, the Diamondbacks are not only competitive now in the day, but they are also competitive looking forward. They look like the future is bright for this team. And Mike Hazen deserves credit for this team being in that position.
And that's maybe the next conversation we should have is, should the Diamond, if indeed it is true that Mike Hazen is only under control through the end of next season, have we seen enough at this point where the Diamondbacks should extend Mike Hazen and make him the GM of this team for even longer? He's already in his 7th season as the Diamondbacks general manager. He's had a pretty long tenure here, and he's made mistakes along the way. He would certainly admit that.
He has admitted that.
Pretty blatantly said, like, yes, I didn't love that I traded Paul Goldschmidt.
And he even kind of admitted that the Mad Bum deal might have been a bit of a bad one.
I mean, I don't think he has to admit that. No, even. Like, we all kind of know.
Right.
Like, Mike Hazen kind of screwed that one up.
But
I mean, it's not just him.
It's hard to get up there in front of us, bunch of idiots, and sit there and kind of eat crow with some of the decisions you've made. And to be honest, Mike Hazen is fairly good about that. And I mean, he doesn't dwell on it too much, and like he says, he can't, or else he'd lose even more sleep than he's already losing. But Mike Hazen cares about this organization a tremendous amount, and I think that what we've seen is, again, him rebuild an organization that was fractured. I don't know how he did it, but there was a period of time where he accumulated more draft picks than any team I've ever seen in baseball. So
it wasn't necessarily all his doing.
No,
exactly,
it wasn't.
But
it wasn't. But I mean,
you get a draft pick because Matt McClain doesn't sign 1 year, and so you get a draft a pick to compensate
he lucked
the next
out
year.
to have this bounty of draft picks, but he did also work his way towards that, and knowing that big bounty of draft picks was going to turn the future of this team around.
Matt McClain had the walk-off hit for the Reds.
Yeah, I was going to say, it was a galaxy.
Very good baseball player. Yep, he's still helping the Diamondbacks out.
Mike told Matt McClain back in the day, do not sign because in 5 years' time, 6 years' time, you will be hitting a walk-off to make us first place in the NL West.
That's how much he knows baseball. He's literally a psychic.
Because clearly that would have made more sense than wanting him to do that for your own team. You would have rather said no.
Stop poking holes in his
drafted
theory,
him specifically just to tell him that.
Let's take a look ahead at the rest of this series because the Diamondbacks take the first game of their road trip and have a chance to now maybe go out there and smack Patrick Corbin around a little bit tomorrow. Sonny Gray, a very good pitcher, so not an easy task in either of these games. But Merrill Kelly against Sonny Gray, a very good matchup, and Zach Davies out there against Corbin. I feel pretty good about. I think Zach Davies is getting better each outing, and I'm interested to see his next start.
Yeah, Davies hasn't really looked great so far. It sort of felt like the changeup hasn't been there for him all that much. He really pitched with his sinker a lot in his last start, was able to get some decent results with that. But in order to really be at his best, Zach Davies needs his changeup to be one of the best changeups in all of baseball. And, we'll see if that returns for him tomorrow. Patrick Corbin has had a reasonably nice year for the Nationals, relatively speaking. A 4.92 ERA is not good. But a year ago, Derek, Patrick Corbin had a 6.31 ERA and went 6-19. And the year prior to that, he had a 5.82 ERA and went 9-16. And for those keeping track at home, he is on a $140 million contract that extends through the end of next year. Sort of felt like this might have been the end of the road for Patrick Corbin, where the Nats would have just had to pay him off and send him on his way. And maybe Corbin would have picked up a minor league deal or whatnot somewhere else. But he's held his own this year. I wouldn't say he's been particularly good, but an interesting pitching matchup tomorrow. And Josiah Gray has been pretty good for the Nats this year as well, a 3.09 ERA. His whip is pretty high. His whip is above 1.4, I believe. So I'm not so sure that a 3 ERA is sustainable, allowing that many base runners. But he's been pretty decent for the Nats overall, and formerly a top prospect in the Dodgers organization. So, yeah, the D-backs are going to need to keep the foot on the gas and try to win this series.
The D-backs schedule ahead remains fairly easy. I don't want to take too much away from their opposition, but again, like I said, they have the Nats and then they have the Tigers. I think the Philadelphia Phillies after that. So again, it's not terrible. They have the Cleveland Guardians, then the Brewers, then the Giants, and then the Rays. So we talked about, there's some challenges at the beginning and the end of the month, but in between there, including this series with the Nationals, there's a lot of winnable games. And I think the Diamondbacks just need to keep their foot on the pedal because things get really tough after this. July, August, September, that's when things get challenging for this team. That's when they start seeing a lot of those NL West opponents come back around. But for now, they just have to worry about kicking around the Rockies and the Giants until we get those Dodgers back. So, but next month, a lot of tough opponents next month, including the Blue Jays and the Braves again. Seattle Mariners, who just strike out a shit ton, apparently. But a lot of games here the Diamondbacks can win, build up on that lead, because like I said, the Diamondbacks, I just can't believe I get to say this, are the first place team in the National League West, in sole possession of first place in the National League West. Go Diamondbacks. This is just a fun team to watch. But I wanted to ask you, is your father a difficult person to shop for, Jesse?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Dad, if you're watching, I'm so sorry, but 100% yes.
No, dads are not easy to shop for. I know I'm getting into that territory of the not easy to shop for dad. Like, don't
you're
get me
becoming
wrong.
that guy.
Yeah, because I'm the guy now that has everything. Like, so much so that I literally have to like actively stop myself from purchasing things for myself because I have to be an adult and
I mean,
say,
no one can buy you shirts, right? Because
absolutely not. No.
I shudder to
not
think of how big your
t-shirts, not
closet
polo
is.
shirts. No, those are completely off the board. So, but you know what I do want? I want meat, Jesse. And every dad wants meat. And of course, you can get your dad some meat over at omahasteaks.com. They have some delicious, oh so tender steaks. And they have an entire package that comes with all sorts of meat. I cooked my pork chops. Actually, I can't say this.
You?
I didn't. My wife cooked them, but she did cook them based on my recommendation of using your recipe. So in a way, I was still involved in that triangle. And you were absolutely right.
My recipe?
Yeah,
what did I
said
tell you?
Put a little flour on it and pan fry them. Yeah,
I did.
Like
I
a
did
cast
say
iron
that.
skillet is what we ended up doing them, and they came out excellent. So great dinner. And for a limited time right now, when you go to omahasteaks.com and enter the code PHNXDbacks into the search bar, you will be able to order the dad's favorite gift package for just $99.99. Plus, you will get 8 free Omaha Steak burgers with your order. The burgers taste like a steak on a bun and are ultra lean. Pack a bold, intense, beefy flavor. It comes with 4 bacon wrapped fillets, 4 premium aired chilled boneless chicken breast, 4 boneless pork chops, 4 gourmet jumbo franks, 4 made from scratch apple tartlets, caramel apple tartlets. They're absolutely delicious. And of course, a bottle of the Omaha Steak seasoning and those 8 free Omaha Steak burgers, all for $99.99. Remember, gifting is easy. Dads just want steak. That's it. Steak isn't just steak. It's the best steak of your life, guaranteed. Don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com and type PHNXDbacks into the search bar and order the dad's favorite gift package for Father's Day today. That's omahasteaks.com, keyword PHNXDbacks. And, of course, if you want to be an extra special child for your father on Father's Day, get your dad a new recliner over at morefurniture.com. Or if you are in any way related to Jesse's family, maybe a Chase Lounge for your dad. But
it does run in the family.
It does.
Yeah,
it's like a bloodline
long
thing.
line of Chase Lounge lovers.
Everybody has a Chase Lounge in his family. Whatever furniture your family bloodline appreciates and covets, you can get that over at morefurniture.com.
Every family bloodline.
Yeah.
They all have a piece of furniture that they obsess over.
Absolutely.
What's yours, Derek?
Just so you know that, it's office chairs. The ones that I beat up with the baseball bat, when I'm angry. But you can also get whatever you get ordered delivered with their white glove delivery service, which we received here at the office and made things so much easier, made our lives so much easier. Save big on the best furniture in the Valley when you head to morefurniture.com. Before we get out of here, we wanted to once again talk about a very special story with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kristian Robinson, one of their top prospects in their organizations at one point, finally played his first baseball game. We talked about that a bit, had himself a good day, and looks very much like a baseball player. Looks like he's ready to be back. But he spoke to the media on Monday and expressed some of his feelings about being back to playing meaningful baseball games. And we have some video, but Jesse, you were there in that meeting, and I just want to get your thoughts on what Kristian Robinson's reactions were like to being back to baseball.
Yeah, it was really interesting the way that they did this press conference. His agent was there, Josh Barfield was there, a pretty large crew there in support of him. But yeah, the way that he opened the press conference, he sort of gave a statement, and he basically made a statement about sort of raising awareness for mental health, and kind of, he thanked all of us in the audience for giving him a platform to share his story. Obviously in a situation like this, they're going to try to find any way to, make it as comfortable of a situation for him as possible. I can understand being in his shoes. It's not being in your first press conference after this whole situation. You'd maybe be a little bit on edge about what kinds of questions might be tossed your way or whatnot.
And it's not easy to open up, right?
Yeah,
you might want to open up to people in your lives, but to open up to the media on like a Zoom call, it's a bit much to let people into your life like that, But I thought that was great that he opened up with that. I really did. I think it is important, and I think once again it's something we've talked about quite a bit on this program, right? How poorly this could have gone for him, and how grateful we all should be to see him back to playing baseball games and to being part of this organization and potentially being someone that can repay this organization for their dedication to him with his performance.
Yeah, and I mean, so far he's played 6 games for Visalia, 308, 357 on base, 462 slugging percentage. Pretty good numbers so
he
far.
He can hit the baseball still.
He can still hit the baseball. But here was a clip from the press conference on Monday, just Kristian talking about what it's like to be back and kind of the emotions that he's walked through so far.
Well, it's been excitement, it's been joy, happiness. Nothing beats playing at 6 p.m., 7 p.m. every night. And I've been reminded of that, and I am just grateful for it. So, I have butterflies right now, and that's what I've been feeling all week. So, it's all been positive emotions all around.
He's got the smile that can light up a room, man. I love his smile.
He really does,
and he looks really. I don't know. He looks really happy. It's something that I'm sure he's very happy to be at this point and to have overcome everything that he's had to overcome to get back to, playing for this organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I talked with Kristian a few years back when he was in Kane County, really pretty close to the end of that season back in 2019, the last time he played minor league baseball. And I was struck then too by just how joyful he seemed to be, just a really good nature, just a guy who really, his smile absolutely takes over a room from what we saw. But yeah, you can tell that he's just kind of himself again. That's something that Josh Barfield really emphasized when we talked with him a couple weeks ago, was just that, that moment when Kristian found out that his visa was being approved and he could finally get back to playing the game that he loved. Josh was like, that's like the first time that I've seen Kristian be Kristian again, right? And you can imagine, having the sport that you love so much taken away from you for that long and not really being able to do anything about it was, must have been really hard. And there wasn't really a clear end in sight for parts of this process. It was kind of unclear at different points in this process whether Kristian Robinson ever would be able to play professional baseball again. But we have another clip that I really thought was cool from Kristian, where he's talking about what it's like to just have teammates again and be able to root for those teammates in game. So here's that clip.
I'm the biggest cheerleader. I try to be myself, but definitely for other people, I'll put Gavin Conticello, one of our third basemen, on blast here, but he hit a home run. Absolutely, crushed this ball, and I was jumping up and down in the dugout, couldn't stop shouting and yelling for him, and had to remember that we were up by a lot, and I didn't want to disrespect the other team, so I had to quiet myself down. But I'm the biggest cheerleader for my teammates, and it's fun celebrating with them.
Same. I am the biggest cheerleader for my teammates too here at PHNX. No,
except for Totri.
Fuck Totri. No, but all jokes aside, right? Like, what he has gone through has to be a very lonely process, right? And especially when you have grown up your entire life being a baseball player, being part of a team, being part of a group of guys that support you through thick and thin. When you go through something like what he has gone through, it's a very personal experience, but it's a very lonely experience. And a lot of the stuff you're doing, even though you might have help, even though you might have people trying to, point you in the right direction, guide you, contact you, and make sure, you have the organization that cares about you and is checking in, it's still something that is left up to you to take care of and a problem for you to get through. And that's not easy, and so I imagine rejoining a team has to feel very good, just to have that support group around you and to have those guys around you, just being able to play the game you love and being able to support, have that support structure.
Kristian was also asked in this presser if he had any goals set for this season. Of course, everyone wants to know, are you hoping to be in AAA by the end of the year? Are you hoping to hit 20 home runs or, whatever it may be? His answer was simple. He just said play. My goal for the season is just to play. Yeah. And you can tell that at this point, which makes a lot of sense, Kristian is not really at all. I wouldn't go so far as to say he's not interested in like the future of his big league career and eventually reaching the majors. But right now, what really is on his mind more than anything is just getting back to playing the game that he loves and just sort of from a mental standpoint, just trying to kind of work his way back from everything that he's been through over the last few years. And it might take him a while, Derek. Like, the results so far have been pretty good in Visalia. But he might have a little ways to go before he's going to be ready for the majors, not just from a skills standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. He's really bounced back from a lot, and I think there's still, maybe some more growth there to come, but he's clearly on the right path right now and seems really happy with how things have turned out. And it's also interesting that he absolutely adored playing in Hillsboro. I remember talking with him back in 2019. Hillsboro at that point was the low A affiliate, not the high A affiliate for the Diamondbacks. So he played in Hillsboro already. And and you're sporting the Hops hat.
I'm sporting the Hops right now.
And he talked about when I interviewed him back in 19, just how the fans there really had his back and how he really enjoyed playing there. And he's in pretty good position to work his way back up there at some point this season. So that would be another really fun chapter in this story for him. But yeah, long way to go as far as his progression to the majors, but he's in a good spot right now. And there's no one in the Diamondbacks organization that has more raw talent in their farm system right now than Kristian Robinson potentially. So it'll be a lot of fun to watch him on this journey.
Kyle in the chat correctly said the first time, even though he corrected himself, I want Kristian Robinson to do well so bad, and not just because he is a D-backs prospect. And I think that's it. I think that there's a lot of people that feel that way about him. We just want to see him. We just want to see him bounce back and play baseball again. Connor in the comments said, man, I want to see him in a D-backs uniform. Seems like a great guy. He absolutely is. And like Jesse said, the one thing about him is he's just very joyful when it comes to playing this game. It's intoxicating. It's infectious. It's something that he seems to be the kind of person that absolutely loves baseball. And I'm glad, like you guys said in the chat, I'm glad that this organization, this team stuck by him over the years, because this isn't something that necessarily every organization is going to do. Kevin, you're an angel. He says, when is the next PHNX takeover? Plug, wink. I'll send you that $5 I promised you. But the next PHNX takeover is on July 25th against the St. Louis Cardinals. Paul Goldschmidt coming to town. Game starts at 6:40. You guys, we are sitting in section 144. Jesse, we're under the front. We're under that home run porch.
Oh,
we're right there.
You go.
See Corbin Carroll right there? We're just going to be nuzzled up right next to Corbin Carroll when we're in section 144. So do not miss that game. I do think we're trying to get some batting practice passes again, which I don't know if it would be on field or not. But this last time there was like 500 kids on field, so you weren't getting anything signed anyway. You're unless you were busting through that line of kids, that front line of kids, you aren't getting anything signed. But we'll see it on a future one if we can get down there. And of course, it's just fun to be in there early. I believe that game, if I'm not mistaken, is also a giveaway night.
Oh,
I'm not sure. I think that is the giveaway night for, in fact, the throwback Diamondbacks jersey. So if we do get batting practice passes to that, the one beautiful part about that I realized this last takeover is that we get in early. And you are, in fact, going to get one of the giveaway items. So, is it the? No,
I don't see any. July 25th. I don't see.
No, is it July 25th? Is that what I said? Yeah.
And the giveaways are normally on Saturdays.
That's right.
That's
That's
a
right. There
Tuesday
is
game.
one coming up though. I think it's Saturday, August 12th, potentially against the San Diego Padres. What is that one? That is the throwback
that's
replica.
The throwback.
Yeah,
There
so
you
that
go.
is our next one after that. So the August 12th game against the Padres, we are in section 131 for that one, and they will be giving away the throwback jersey. So again,
that thing's gonna have probably a lot of.
oh my
lot of
God,
value.
it's a beautiful jersey, and
Yeah.
we saw people line up hours and hours. We got in early access, and people were there 4 or 5 hours already in line early for the tribal cap. So make sure you guys join us for that. We appreciate you guys being here tonight with us. And of course, we love you guys. Thank you so much. Go Arizona Diamondbacks. This team remains a wagon. This team is a wagon. So much fun to watch. And we, of course, will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. To talk about maybe some things other than a game recap. Maybe we got some other stuff. Maybe we want to talk about Mike Hazen's interesting comments about some trade deadline moves that this team might make.
Yeah, Mike Hazen was on a podcast today, made some interesting comments about what the Diamondbacks might be looking to do at the trade deadline. course, everyone wanted to have these conversations weeks ago.
Yes.
But we're gonna dive in a little bit tomorrow and start taking a closer look at what the Diamondbacks might be looking to do at the trade deadline.
And probably every day between now and the trade deadline, because this team is a wagon. I don't know. That's the rumor that I've heard. And they are going to be most likely buyers when this trade deadline comes around. But like Jesse said, there's going to be a lot of teams that are buyers and a lot of teams looking for the same thing the D-backs are looking for. So you keep it locked right here to PHNX for all of your Diamondbacks news. You can follow me on Twitter at cap_caveman with a K. You can follow this maniac at Jesse N. Friedman. You can follow Damon, the leader of Damon's Dogs, at Damon Dog. That's DAWG. And you at the end.
How did the Damon's Dogs do on Friday?
We went 1-2.
We went 1-2. We had a tough back and forth match with Sean and Saul.
There was an absolute battle.
It really
was.
Meanwhile,
Lindsay
cooked us.
Bad. Lindsay grilled us, served us up without
Lindsay served us up an 11-0 loss.
Yeah, and it was all scored
11-0?
Oh, yeah. It was all Lindsay. We waved the white flag early.
Gerald did nothing.
Wait, didn't we score one in that game? We did not get skunked.
Yes.
We did. It was 11-1.
It was Leah and Charles that lost 11-0, and then we lost 11-1 because Lindsay was just taking bodies. It was crazy.
When Lindsay doesn't want to be in the sun anymore, she can make anything she wants.
We won our last game, though, so we have positivity to look
we're
forward
building.
to.
Okay, Damon's a great
momentum.
leader, by the way.
Okay.
That's why he is the leader of Damon's Dogs. But, of course, our show is at PHNX_Dbacks. All of that aside, and all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Again, we appreciate you guys for stopping by. We appreciate the Arizona Diamondbacks for being a wagon and winning this game. And most importantly, we thank you. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when your team is in first place in the division.